Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Live in Italy magazine. If you are interested in anything to do with living in Italy, buying a property in Italy, you will not want to miss today's interview with Daniele Antoniella, who we're very excited to say is an Italian, but now living in the United States. So a little bit of a change from our typical expat interviews. Daniele is a licensed real estate agent in the United States, but also has his own consultancy business to help you buy your property in Italy. And apart from that, at the end of the interview, we'll talk a little bit about some of the other things he does. He's a fantastic writer. He is an expert in also food and fashion. So my name is Lisa Morales. I'm the editor of Live in Italy magazine, a lifestyle and travel publication dedicated to all things Italy. So Daniele, without further ado, welcome to Live in Italy magazine. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and talk to you.
Yeah, it's been a while to get this coordinated, but we're finally, connected. So yes, welcome back. I'd like to introduce everybody to you. Like I said, this is a little bit of a switch. So now we are interviewing an Italian living in the United States. So give us some background. Where are you from in Italy? How did you get to the United States?
Do you want me to speak Italian? I'm just joking. I was born in Orvieto, which is located in Umbria, and
Mhm.
Umbria is basically like at the very center of Italy. It's literally the region that's smacked in the middle. Um, I grown up for some of my life in Orvieto and in town nearby till when I was 20. And when I was 20, I moved to London for 5 years. And at the very beginning, when I was in London, I did a culinary school and became a trained chef and worked for a few restaurants and then got into the fashion world and worked for some luxury high-end brands. And after that, came back to it and met my wife, and that's why I came to America. And when I was in America, uh, kept, I sort of kept both worlds, my fashion and my cooking business. So I do those things on the sides as well. But then I basically got my license in Massachusetts. So I have
Mhm.
dual licenses, one in Massachusetts and one in Connecticut, and uh, and go into the real estate business as a main part of my income.
Which
Uh,
is an excellent career choice.
oh yeah, totally. Especially right now with this market. Yeah,
Yes.
it's uh, it's interesting. It's been interesting to see how things have changed since when I got licensed. It hasn't. The market has changed very radically since then, and there are pro and cons, but it's uh it's just how the market goes. It will come back around and be different again. So, but
So,
yeah, then what I basically, once I had my uh my business, real estate business in America, I just basically wanted to find a way for myself to uh, be in Italy and have something
mhm,
to do related that was in my home country.
right.
And he actually, funny enough, he actually started with me and my wife wanting to buy an apartment near my hometown, another in a place near my hometown. And so, like, start getting information about it and gathering like connection,
Mhm.
and we are actually going to um, we are finalizing the thing hopefully when we are going back this summer. But yeah, it started
Okay.
like that. And then, it just got to the point where I was, well, I do real estate here, so why don't I, since I had a lot of people in America that kept like, oh, you're Italian, I always wanted to buy a place in Italy, and like,
Yes.
oh, why don't I do that? And I actually use that as another business and source of income. And
Okay.
also because it's a passion, so what's better than that, than doing something that you love and do it as your job? So,
Most definitely. Okay, so let's backtrack a bit because I just want you're obviously familiar with our magazine, but our second highest readership is from Italy. So there's a whole bunch of Italians reading our magazine.
oh
So
wow.
just out of curiosity, and they might be curious too, how did you meet your wife and what were the steps to permanent living in the US?
Um, so I met my wife when as I said, when I came back from London, and I met her because she's an artist. She's
Mhm.
a professional painter. That's one of her many talents. She does
I
many jobs.
saw that. Beautiful work.
Multitasking person, like probably many Americans, but
Mhm.
uh, so she came to Italy at that time because she was attending a class with her college. We are
Okay.
talking about 3 years ago, and we basically met in a bar in Italy, and from then, we started talking, and we exchanged contacts because uh, I started talking to her about my fashion experiences and all that, and she actually was a textile designer, and she did an event for it, so we kind of connected that way. And then, exchange information, went out together, and that's how it started. And then I basically came to America, supposed to just come to meet her family and friends
Mhm.
and stay for, like, the visa time for like
Right.
90 days. And then we just decided to get married. So I
Oh,
actually
that's
never,
beautiful. So
yeah,
were you married in the US or in Italy?
US. We never got married in Italy. Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. So you have been in the United States since, is it 2018?
Correct. Yeah. 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Years.
think it said that on your website. So are you an American citizen yet?
Not yet. I'm in the process of being an American citizen. It just takes a long time.
It does, but it's probably worth it. And then, of course, your wife can become an Italian citizen as well
Oh yeah, she's going
through
to.
you.
Yeah, I
Yes. And
currently have a green card. I have a permanent green card currently, but like, it's not. I'm still in the process of getting the citizenship. So.
yeah, it does take time. And we've talked about that here. And that's why I wanted to ask you that, because obviously, as a couple, having both citizenships has its advantage. So we're not going to talk about that today, but thank you for giving some insight to your life. So that's
Okay,
great.
no problem.
Congratulations to you
Thank
both. And like I said, we'll put all the links and also to your wife's website as well, because I took a look at her. I love art myself. She does some wonderful work, and you do collectively some great work. And we'll get into that at the end.
Oh
But
yeah. Definitely.
let's get into real estate, okay? Because this is just a hot topic, and like we were talking beforehand, um, it's something that I'm getting almost daily inquiries about because people have questions, and there's a lot of resources out there, and we try and find the trustworthy resources, educational factors. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So, um, based on your experience here and then what you know of Italy, and like you said, your curiosity to be able to get a property there and connect, what do you think are generally the best steps for somebody who just says, hey, I'm looking into buying a second property, a vacation home in Italy? What would you tell that person is the best way to get started? Like searching, visiting, anything like that? What do you think?
Yeah. So the real estate market in Italy is slightly different than how it is in America, and I can just list a few differences just to make people understand how the process work. They do have a basic landing website and many others like we have here at Zillow, where you can look at properties. In that case, in Italy, you will have Idealista. Idealista is one of the main ones.
Okay.
And the way it works in Italy, which is different from America and people need to be aware of because it creates a lot of confusion.
Hmm.
Usually there is a property is listed by an agency. So you, if you want to buy a property, a specific property that you like and you want to buy, you need to go to that specific agency. So it's not like here, you know, you see a property, you're working with, let's say, any agency you're working with, you can go and see the property and have them help you. In
Right.
Italy, you will have the specific agency to have to do that for you.
Right.
And the usually the specific agency will take care of both sides. So they will be representing the buyer and the seller. So you won't have two different agents. You usually just have one. And another difference that is very good to know is that usually the compensation is either split by buyer and seller
Hmm.
that are paying, or is either obviously like in American happens is the seller paying it, but it can be split. So that's another very uh, big difference that you don't have here. So
Oh,
what
that's
you
good
want
to
to
know.
do, yeah, what you want to do basically would be uh, to find an agency that it depends on the area you want to look at. So what you usually find is in every like town or a big city, there are agencies. There may be more than one, and you can either just go straight to the agency and see what properties they have, or you
Right.
can contact the agency online. It gets harder with Italian agencies. The best thing to do is call with Italians. I would say it's they are more responsive and it's easier to get through the step that way. So you probably want to call the agency and see what they have listed. If there is anything that interests you, then you will basically go and see the property like happens here.
Hmm.
Now there are a few other differences regarding the process. There are obviously the tax the tax the taxes are different. There are different taxes than America when you're buying a property, and there are also different uh, parts in the negotiation.
Right.
So what you will have in Italy is a very which it's similar with like in some aspects. I mean, in America you have an appraisal which values the property once you go under contract and tell you how much the property is valued. In either you
Hmm.
will have a geometra, which is a sort of, it's an architect. That's what it is. It's an architect that will value the property and will also being doing the duty sometimes of what an inspector does. So you can also see if the actual house and shape is good condition and all that. So it has more than just like can have more jobs than the appraisal function. And you will have a notary. So, and the notary will be the one basically drafting up the documents and all that. It will kind of be doing in some way uh, is not exactly the you will still have a closing attorney. So there is
Hmm.
difference. Another will be the one drafting the documents, but you also need an attorney to basically guide you through the steps. So you have additional parts to the negotiation and you will have to compensate those parts yourself.
Right. So
And
you do feel then that it's best for the potential buyer to have some kind of representation going through this process, because if you were having to go to the agency for the seller or the property themselves directly, the buyer needs advice as well. right?
That's right, right. That's where it gets tricky because you go to the agency and the agency is listing a house and obviously representing the seller.
Exactly. So what
So,
do you feel? Feel is the best thing for the buyer because I know from here, we want to feel at least, we know everybody's going to make money in the end, but we want to feel that somebody has our best interests in mind. What do you think is maybe for a foreigner, one of the best ways to feel represented?
right, that's exactly right. Your point is right on spot. I mean, the problem is in America, you have your own agent representing you and is going to do
Mhm.
your interest and is going to do what is best for you. In Italy will get tricky because they are representing the seller and obviously want to get the best out of it. And
Right.
sometimes you don't get the same representation. So, and this is when the consulting and the consultant business comes in place. There are like many people that do consulting for American buying property in Italy or all that just because American people wants to buy a property and going through the process, they need someone that is doing their best interest and also someone that knows how the process work. So
Yes, and also too, because I think that's listed on your website. It's in hiring a consultant. It's the advice, it's the representation, but there's also a language thing because we have had actually one of our past expat interviewees say it's best not to use the websites that appeal to foreigners because you're not going to get the best deal. So what you're saying is if you're going through the agency and it's better to pick up the phone and call. I mean, if you don't speak Italian, you really need somebody to help you out, right?
right. Yeah. And again, there is another thing you want to know is you want to know what sides are legit and what sides are actually not, and what can give you the best resource. So that's another part of it. So you not being Italian and not knowing what agencies are in Italy and what is best to go to, you might just go to somewhere or an agency that is not good or is not doing your best interest, or they there are, I mean, and there are also a lot of scammers out there,
Yeah.
not just for Italy, but like generally speaking. I mean, so you
Yeah.
definitely want to be aware and go with something that it's legit. That
Yeah. And I think we're going to get into another topic shortly, but I think that I've said this before as, Americans, I would say anywhere, um, outside of Italy, serious people who've owned property is that when doing business transactions, we want transparency. And I think that is the scary thing about the internet and trying to do that on your own is that you could have the best looking website out there and it looks promising, but you really have to, you got to do, you need your work, you do your work.
correct. Yeah, you also need to be there in person. I think that's very important. I
Yeah.
mean,
And we'll,
you can get started the process no in person maybe, but you do need to be in person at some point because
yeah.
you need to know what you are buying and you need to like have a visual and real life experience of what the process is and what you're doing. So that's an
And we'll
important.
talk about the in person in a bit, but I want to go back to what you were talking about that you started to address, and maybe we can follow up. Actually, if you have some time, you could put it in writing the best of your knowledge, and I'll make sure it goes into the article. One of the most popular questions we have is explaining property taxes in
Oh,
Italy. And also, this is a second home. And sometimes, a lot of people are wanting because there's all these visa concerns, which we're not going to get in today.
yep.
But when buying a property, you have to be careful how long you're able to stay in Italy. And there are so many different conditions, as you know. So a lot of people want to buy a property, go there for as long as they can in a year, but also rent it out. So I imagine property taxes must be complicated a bit. Can you give,
Uh,
maybe us some feedback?
they are. they are complicated and they have like a lot of differences depending on if you're not registered, if you're registered. So there is definitely a lot of things going on, like different taxes. I would say you will mainly, what you mainly want to know is there are four different type of taxes in
Hmm.
Italy when you're purchasing a property. And one of them is the land registry tax, which is called imposta in Italian is called imposta ipotecaria. Uh,
Okay.
you will have a cadastral tax, which is an imposta catastale, and then you will have a stamp duty, which is imposta di registro, and then you have a VAT, which is uh, the main tax usually
Right.
that people know about. That people
Okay.
so uh, I would say the VAT is pretty much like more known tax and more like uh, the general tax that you get from a purchase of a property that in America and is called differently, but it's like a main tax. And then you have the stamp duty, which is basically stamp fees uh, tax. The other two are very different and are something that in America are not like as common, I would say, and like at least I haven't come across those. And I will say the first one is a flat fee of when you're buying the property. So I'm talking right now of the land registry tax. That's like a flat fee, which is
Okay.
usually like if you are like not registered, 50 euro, a flat fee of 50 euro when you're buying a property. And if you are registered, like as a business or as a person, then there will be a flat fee of 200 euro. The second one, it's the cadastral tax is very similar to the first one. The only difference is basically more regarding the property deed.
Okay.
And it works the same way. Basically, if you are not registered, is a flat fee of 50, and if you are registered, is flat fee of 200 euro. So those are basically pretty much how they work with slight variation on the property, on what you're buying. There are property that can have a higher fee if you're not buying luxury property, or those have exceptions. So those are always going to have exceptions. Like, in Italy, there are exceptions if with castles and luxury houses and all that bigger, which probably many people are not going to look at. But then you
But it's a
have
small percentage. Yeah, small percentage looking for castles.
right. Those are going to have very high taxes. But
Yeah.
if you're buying a castle, you're not going to worry about
Yeah,
taxes.
exactly. No, we are dealing with the people who have,
Right,
have a life savings and just want
right.
that second home.
Yeah.
So annually, these are the startup kind of taxes. Annually, then there would be some form of tax payment to the Italian system.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right.
You have usually like IMU. That's what is like one of like your annual taxes that you pay. And that's basically like something usually like it depends, like it's like a 4% tax that if like if you are like a registered and you have a main residency.
Hmm.
If it's like a second home, like many times if you are like
Yes.
buying a, then in that case it's gonna be like much higher. It's gonna be like 10%. So that's thing to keep in mind if you want to buy a property in Italy. Taxes tend to be high. They tend to be very high
Oh,
compared
that's
to
good to
America.
know. Mm.
And then I mean this is like probably not important, but we'll like if you are like again like we were saying for castles and luxury properties, we are like talking more about like 20% taxes to pay on those.
Annually.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So
But like you said, if you are in that income bracket, you're not
if
really
you are in
concerned
the
about that. Yeah,
Right.
it's a different thing. So what about if the property is used as a vacation rental? I mean, we know that if you're renting it out, you have to pay certain taxes, and that's usually incurred on the renter. But
Mm.
is there any additional taxes owing because you are earning income on that property?
Yeah, you're definitely encounter are going to encounter more taxes on that. Like they usually like you usually will have taxes on your management fees and the building and all that, and there
Mhm.
are additional. But that again, it depends on the property and where it's located. That plays a main role. Like, if you buying an apartment in Rome or in a big city or in
Mhm.
a place that like near a major like beaten tourist path, then your taxes are gonna be on the building much higher than someone else that is renting in a small town or an apartment that is not in a beaten path. So yeah, those are like additional taxes, but they are like depends on the price and the circumstance. Although there are no like fixed numbers, then like you can really like say,
Yeah, but it
uh,
definitely, again, if you have an expert before you sign the papers and
oh,
everything, you can
you
have an expert help you go through all these costs so you can budget it.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
You will have, in this case, uh, you mostly will have your closing attorney, your attorney, like telling you exactly, like, depends on this price, this is how much you're paying in tax and closing cost and all that. And that varies is like, and it's the same in America. I mean, if you buy a house, depend on the price of the house, you're going to have different closing costs or you're going to have a different down payment. So that
Right.
definitely varies. But um, I would say for the main part, this is what like you have to keep in mind. Uh, there are like, there was a time, um, and this was like a while, long time ago. I mean, we're talking about a few years ago, where if you were like an Italian resident, an Italian citizen, and you were buying your first house, you were exempt for taxes,
Hmm.
like on your first home, and that's not the case anymore right now. But you still have lower taxes than if you are like obviously buying it as a foreigner, if you are an Italian
Right.
citizen or you are like a resident. So
Which, like I explained, a lot of our readers are, Italian citizenship by descent is really popular. So that is possibly going to put people in a different category as well if they do that. And we've learned through other expats, like, I mean, you don't necessarily need it to deter you. There are other incentives. Like we had one couple explain to us about, restoring properties and all the green incentives that the Italian government gives. So where you might have to end up paying, which you should expect to pay in one area, you might find
right,
savings if you
right,
do your homework somewhere else.
correct. But
Yeah.
that's also why so many Americans goes for uh, houses that are not, more and more. I've seen people going to houses that are not in the beaten path or in smaller towns,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
And
they end up saving so much money, and those houses have still like a gray air. You can use them as an Airbnb. They have a great
mhm,
like rental attraction to people because people are looking for that. If you are going in vacation, sometimes all you want to do is just relax and go to your small town center and do your
sure.
grocery, you know?
And we're finding that transportation is so good in Italy too. If you have a rental car or you're near a train station, even in a small town, you have access to the rest of the country. So
Oh yeah,
you don't. And that we've talked about is the mission of the magazine is exploring authentic Italy. There's no point being part of an expat community like if you were in like southern Spain, let's say, if you're just going to be with a bunch of other people from the UK. Like, that's not what we encourage. That's nice if that's what you want, but we're definitely not encouraging that. If you're going to get to know a country and live in it short term or long term, to do it. So, another popular subject that I want to talk about, and this is your personal opinion, doesn't have to be your expert opinion, but something that has been widely publicized in the US is the €1 home. So, I want to ask you if you have any opinion or insight into that.
Yeah, totally. It's uh, good. It can be a good thing and a good investment if you're planning on living there.
Mm-hmm.
You're planning on like just retiring and living there and investing on the home, then it can be a good option. The problem with those 1 year old homes is um, they are obviously need to be restored, and there is a lot
Yes.
of work that has to go into them. So
Mm-hmm.
on the long run, you are end up paying like a regular house. The only difference is you're not gonna pay up front. So that can be a good thing. And also the other thing is they basically are doing that because for them it's those houses are have not been lived or they've been abandoned. They need them to bring that back to life. And it's a way for them for you because they do that because they want you to invest in their economy.
Yes, and sorry if I can interrupt for a minute. I will say that we are not discouraging people from looking into or buying €1 homes. And it is a valiant effort to restore a town that might essentially be totally lost.
Right.
But there's a caveat emptor. You have to be careful, right? To think about what you're getting into.
Right. And another thing, usually those houses are located in towns that are like very like out of the beaten path.
Mhm.
They are not known, they don't have transportation, they are like
Yes.
far out. So again, that's another thing that you want to see. Again, if your plan is to retire, to do work on your home and just live
Mhm.
a very quiet life, maybe near a place that is near the sea, sure, totally go for it. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, it's relaxing, and it's if you like to do work and updates and build a home, but it's again there are like um there are there are factors to it. The reason why there are $1 is obviously the conditions of they are in, and
So do you think then the probability, so you're saying people who plan on retiring and living there. So again, if you're going to do that, you got to look into the types of visas you have. So what you're saying is because they're in such remote areas that they're maybe not the best places to think I'm going to have an Airbnb
oh,
or a
totally.
rental home.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. There are houses that are in towns that are so unknown that no one is ever
Go
going
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you are not unless you are Italian and you have family there or you have
Yeah.
friends there, no one would ever think of them because you just don't know the place. There are, on the other hand, there are small towns that are more known and they are good investment. Like, for example, at the very beginning of our conversation, we were saying I was born in Orvieto. Orvieto
Hmm.
is a small town, but it's very known and it's a beaten path by tourists, especially a lot of American I know go to Orvieto, and you can buy Airbnb, or you can buy a house there or an apartment and then use as an Airbnb and make a great income out of it. The only difference
Right.
with Orvieto, it's because it's so well connected with the train
Hmm.
and everything. There are times that you might end up paying uh, uh, good money for a place, especially if it's in like the historic center.
Yes.
So the suggestion I've been giving to my client is why don't you buy a place that is near Orvieto, in a small town near Orvieto, so that you still
Hmm.
have the access to the train, to everything that you want to have to, and you can still rent it out because people
Right.
still gonna live in those places. You pay much, much, much less for it.
And there again is a consideration for investment. Actually, Umbria, there's a lot of homes for sale. A lot of people are, let's say choosing not to be in popular Tuscany, but they're getting some of the things that they want, close to great wine and
Yeah,
food and like it seems to me that Umbria in general is it keeps its property values. Would you
right.
say that? And not always the cheapest, but definitely probably a pretty good investment. Would you
You
say
know,
that?
yeah, I will totally say that. I would say Italian houses, especially knowing places that are known right now, are very cheap.
Right.
It's crazy how much you pay for a beautiful house in Italy right now. Especially if you're American, used to buy houses here. It
Hmm.
it literally looks like there are prices that are just amazing. Like you look at it, like this house only that. There are actually, if I mean everyone is on Instagram nowadays. There
Yeah.
are Instagram pages that constantly like mention houses that are in Umbria or in small towns nearby, and are like for like a two-bedroom, like 170,000 euro. Once it
Yeah.
like what? Like
And
beautiful.
on big plots of land.
Right,
Yeah.
right. 171, like it's crazy. Like, you can get a gorgeous house for like nothing, and you
Hmm.
can have your vacation home. So I mean, it's a great time to for foreigners to buy in Italy. It's because and there are reasons why Italian houses have got so low, especially in the last few years. A lot of it has to do with the economy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They haven't had the best economy, and obviously everything that happened last year hasn't helped them either, because they live
No.
in tourism, many of them. So uh, with the economy going down and people not buying houses, the market has been going down and down because they cannot sell houses. And like, well, let's try less and see if we can.
Right.
So you just basically are going to reduce the price, constantly reducing your price, and so that's how you get like such a nice houses for so low, because Italians are not buying houses.
Right.
So it's
Well, I mean, hopefully, once the economy improves, there'll be a bit more in balance. So, do you feel, because obviously in the United States right now, real estate is hot. Do you feel that there has been, maybe even during the pandemic, an increased, kind of demand for property in Italy?
um yes, I would say so. Yeah, there have been I had way more people asking about it, and there are so many people that after what happened last year, they just want to go, and this is like, well, now I really want to have a vacation spot. Now I really want to have a house in Italy, because like I just need a place where I can go and rest, and it's so many people are working remotely. So many
Exactly. I was going to bring that up.
uh
That's something that has really changed. That's why we're having these shifts even within the United States, that people are saying, okay, if I have to be in on a computer all day long, maybe
right.
I could go do it somewhere else.
And that's it, and that's how small towns that have lower priced homes and they're still fairly well connected get
Good.
cost so much more market to people that are from outside, than because they're getting a better value for what they are buying.
Hmm.
They're getting a beautiful house, and they can use it because they need to work from home anyway, so they don't need to be in a big city, they don't need to go to the office. So you know
Right. Right.
it's
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a great consideration. So you were talking about you and your wife are thinking about buying a property in Italy. Do you have any idea where you might be kind of zeroing in on what area?
Yes, there are a couple of places that we've been looking at, and there is one in particular that we are likely going to go for, just because it's great. It's in an historic center with this cobblestone street overlooking a castle and a volcanic lake.
Wow.
It's like a fairy tale place. Like, if I say like this, but it actually is. It's a small town near Orvieto. It's 20 minutes from Orvieto, and
Okay.
so it's well connected because you can get the bus and get to Orvieto, and then you have the train and everything you want
Oh,
if you
excellent. So you wouldn't even need a car
right.
necessarily.
Right. And that's the nice thing about that place. And also, it's just not a beaten path by tourists. I mean, you have Germans and Europeans that go to it because Europeans tend to go more places that are not beaten paths if they go to Italy. But
Right.
it's Italy. You get the experience, real experience of Italy, because Oviedo, like, sometimes it's almost like has got to that point that it's fake a little. Like, how these places, when they start having too many tourists, is like
Yes.
lose their identity in some way. And this place is actually just like, you find just a real Italy. You find the small plaza with the small market, the small, like, stands with fruit, and in the summertime. So it's just a great place, and it's near a lake, so you
Oh, how
literally,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice because anybody who knows Umbria should know they call it Green Italy. So you're not necessarily near a coastline, but you have plenty of beautiful nature and lakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
uh, you don't, not everything is the beach, which brings me to the fact that everybody talks about Tuscany, Positano, and now
I
Sicily.
know.
There's got to be other regions where maybe you suggest might be, again, a good investment to look into, worth the time to go to those areas. Obviously, you're not going to do all this online. So where do you think are other areas that are maybe really up and coming?
Yeah. I mean, as a first thing, I would say, as me being Italian, I'm very proud of my country. I would say, oh, Italy is beautiful, but that is true.
Yeah.
But I will say Puglia. It's
Okay.
on the how you call it, is it's the on the boot. It's like, how is that called? The hill. Oh, the hill of,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And I think Puglia is just because it's near the sea, which people
Yes.
want. The sea in there is like so white, like you can see through it. It's like amazing. And you have these like white sanded beaches. It's just beautiful. And there are these very tiny houses that are called trulli, and they are
Oh,
like,
yes, of course. We just put up an article about that.
yeah, those are on sale. Like, I saw like truly in areas in Puglia for sale for like $80,000. Like a small, beautiful, like it's a tiny house, but it's beautiful for a vacation house. Like, when you're
Yes.
where also, another, I would say, another things to keep in mind for Americans is Italian houses are gonna be smaller. Just
Oh,
saying.
any of us who traveled, we know that. But I
Just
have
saying.
to say, it sometimes comes as a relief because, I mean, that's the whole idea. The attraction to Italy is your life is not inside your house. The idea is to get out, and there's
And no
plenty to do
AC,
outside.
no AC, no central air. Just say.
Yeah.
So you need to install that probably. But yeah, uh,
Yeah, but if you're by the sea or maybe in a truly, like you said, I mean, they were built to be kind of efficient.
oh yeah, no, they're very
So, they stay cool.
right, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that will definitely be a spot that will uh, come come strongly because it's near the sea and there's very good prices for small houses and for houses. And so I can see that one. I would say another place I can see it's probably Umbria. I see Umbria, as we were saying, I see Umbria like getting to that point, just because Umbria is still not known well. I,
Hmm.
I would say, even though people start knowing it more, but it's not as known yet. And it has a lot of beautiful places and very good prices on homes. You
Right.
know, there are places like, obviously we are not gonna mention like Tuscany. There is no need to mention Tuscany. That's already
No.
known and it's already bidden. But uh Sicily potentially could be, depending on where you go. Um I would say Sicily, I see a little more unlikely just because it's not as connected. Uh,
Right.
so I'm mentioning Puglia and Umbria just because they are have a better, they're better connected to the rest of Italy and to like the main places.
Yeah,
Because
and I was going to say through our not too far there too. We've had a couple of expat interviews in for people living in Lemarque. It seems like Lemarque is kind of giving a bit of a push of what they're able to offer as well.
it's, yeah, their region is also picking up as well. I
Hmm.
would say those regions are picking up, like they being near the sea is a good important factor.
Hmm.
Because, tourists they are looking, they look for that. Many people look for that, even though, places like Umbria, or even if they are the center, Italy is so small. You get to the beach with like an
Right.
hour or less. Like Italy is
Yeah.
such a small country. You get to everywhere with such a short time.
Actually, one of our writers, I asked that who's in it, Umbria, and I said, Umbria, green Italy, right in the center. You're not near an ocean. It's like, well, I get in my car and it takes 45 minutes to an hour at the most. It's not a
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah,
And I mean, I related that being in Florida, I am north of Miami. For me to get to Miami Beach because of traffic could literally take what would should be only a 20-minute drive could take an hour and a half stuck in traffic. So don't
uh,
let Umbria not having beaches turn you off. You just need to rent a car.
no, and also renting car is very cheap.
Right.
It's very cheap. Like, as long as, be aware of no renting cars in airports.
Ah, good advice. Because I wanted to know that when I go
Very
next
expensive.
year.
Very
Yeah.
expensive. If you rent a car in the airport, it's gonna be 2 times or 3 times what you are going to get renting a car in a small dealership in a town or in a city.
Okay. So let's talk about Northern Italy. How do you feel? Like, I guess maybe people who are looking at Northern Italy, maybe they want to be closer to the larger cities, could be for work too. Do you feel that real estate in Northern Italy is a good investment and should you expect to pay more?
Yeah, you're going to pay more in northern Italy. It's more of beaten path, especially like, the Alps, and then you have like all Lake Como and around, and
Mhm.
also like, Cinque Terre, which everyone always talks about. So you're
Right,
definitely gonna pay more. You're not going to get the same value of what you're getting in places that are not as known. uh,
right,
Even then, it depends, because Italy is full of small towns. There are small towns in northern Italy that you can go to and get houses for very cheap. It all depends on what you're buying your house for. If
right,
you're buying your house for just the pleasure of living in Italy, and you just and you have a preference like in what you like as a life and a landscape, and as what you prefer, then sure. I mean, I
mhm,
think you can find a great places in northern Italy that are not too expensive,
right.
and they, as long as they are in smaller towns or not beaten paths. But you're definitely going to pay more, uh, generally speaking, in northern Italy for places.
Okay. So if you were dealing with somebody living in the United States that who had potentially wanted to start looking, So they went on the internet or whatever. And you're saying it's really important to be there. And we've learned that from some expats. Like with our last couple, they said they actually just moved, not even having a place, owned a place yet, because they felt the going back and forth was too difficult,
Oof.
so they just packed their bags and took a chance, which I think is very brave, but
It's an adventure.
most people can't do that or want to do that. So if somebody starts online, what would you recommend is the best way, like starting from narrowing down where you want to live and then being there? What do you think would be ideal in finding a place?
You what I usually offer is, um, I usually just go there for them and
Mhm.
give video tours and like basically trying to make the experience as more real as possible.
Oh,
Just
okay.
yeah, just I mean, we live in a virtual world, so I would say technology plays a large role in it. So I usually try to give the virtual experience and make as real as possible. It's never gonna be the same as being there in person. So I do definitely talk to them and be like, well, you guys at some point need to come, even just for a week, and we can see a bunch of places together, because it's totally different what you are experiencing in real than what you're seeing in a screen. But
Okay,
uh,
so I think this is a good time then to talk about your services as a consultant. So that's great. So what you're saying is, as a real estate consultant, you can help them narrow down, let's say, give them choices, and then when the time is right, they'll go
yeah,
with or without you. So why don't you talk about your services? Like, because like it's important to repeat again, you're not yet a realtor in Italy, but you're
right,
obviously a real estate professional. You
right.
know what's going on, obviously, from our conversation in Italy. So what do you do specifically if somebody was to hire you?
There are different services and different packages I offer. I
Mhm.
would say my basic offer and my basic package, it consists of a basic. I offer a free consultation, a first free consultation, usually to my new client, where I explain them generally the first steps of the process and
Mhm.
how it works and how real estate in Italy works, and also ask them what they are looking for. So there is usually, if they have questions, they can definitely ask those and they can answer them for them. Usually it's like 1 hour free consultation, uh,
Okay.
and that's what I usually offer at first. uh, my basic package consists of that, and then consists of basically us start like tailoring down to the search of what they are looking for. So they are looking, let's say we are looking in this area, we're looking for this many bedrooms for a house to be with this much yard and all that. So we are going to narrow down the search, and I'm going to do a search for them and see what I can find for them and what is obviously in the price range they're looking for. And then from that, once I found those places, I'm going to block out time for myself and have to go to Italy. They either can come with me if they want to, uh,
Mhm.
or I either can go there myself, and then going to basically video tour for them all these places that we have been talking about. At that point, it's going to probably be like few options that they're interested in, and so we can see those, and then after that, if they like any of those places, then they can either keep helping me, they can either keep using me,
Mhm.
and then we will just start with a different package and a different like services that I will provide. Because at that point, if I will have to help them, then there is like the will be the buying process and the consultation process that starts. So it wouldn't just be
So you're
more.
talking about once they're into the offer, the contractual, the closing stage, you could
Right.
help them through that.
Right. Let's say they find a house they like, and they're like, Daniele, we found this house, the one that you show us, we really like this house, we want to move forward with it. If they want to move forward with it, then there is a different process that starts and a different
Right.
package that I'm going to offer to them.
Which is fair because that's obviously a lot more complicated.
Right. If it's like a basic consultation and show them properties and give them few options for their search, that's like my basic package. But then it will start being something more advanced in that case, because it will involve much more work, and will involve much more like commitment to it for both parts.
Right. And I think what you said is at some point there would be attorney fees as well, because you need an attorney, an Italian attorney to help with the
Right.
closing, right?
Right.
This is not an attorney that belongs to the seller. This is your own attorney.
Yeah. So you're not, so just being specific, uh, there are times people are, you don't necessarily need uh, to have an attorney. I always recommend to have an attorney,
Right.
because you want things to be smooth. You want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know what like the costs are. You want to know what how everything works and what you're
Yeah.
getting into. So you definitely want to have one, and you want to have one that it's Italian and is in Italy and knows how the system works.
No, definitely. And I mean, I'm in no position to advise people, but obviously, if you're going to take the time to make the investment, don't cut corners necessarily just because you want to save money and then find out down the road, you have especially a contract in a different language.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
this is not the place to save. Like I said, we've talked about green incentives and restoring homes, and there's different things. So find another way to save. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not an expert, but that's if I was to do the same, I think I would do that. One thing we didn't get to, and we won't spend too much time, but it is possible for the potential buyer to get a mortgage in Italy, right?
It is. Yeah, you can
Yes.
totally do that. I mean, I would say there are two ways of doing it. You can definitely get a mortgage in Italy through a bank. It takes a while to do that. It
Mhm.
takes longer than it takes in America.
Yes.
Just to be a
I
few.
would imagine most people and the people that we're dealing with, like some of them have just gone in and, because they're not necessarily at the typical retirement age, but at the young, we're seeing a lot of young, they're doing all their financing here. And a lot of them have paid cash
Yeah,
because if you are getting a
best
home that's cheaper,
is best.
you can. Yeah.
That's
But
what I usually would recommend. But you can totally get financing in Italy, and
yeah,
it's gonna take longer. It's going to the process is gonna look different, and there are many more steps you need to take and more documents you need. But in that case, I always recommend my clients, and I always put them in touch with a mortgage lender or a bank, because that will be
right.
the best to explain that and to like. Obviously, if they don't speak English, then I facilitate that. That's my job as a consultant. Then I
Yeah,
can.
that's excellent. Yeah. And obviously, again, when you're dealing with anything contractual, it's, or like you said, the phone calls and things like that, having a good understanding of the language, obviously, and you're fluent would be great. So that was a lot of helpful information, and I'm very thankful for that because, like I said, it is a popular subject. So in doing research about you, you sent me your consultancy website. I looked into everything else. I was very delighted, in some beautiful photos, by the way, is that you also are a culinary expert and a fashion expert. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, totally. I did take my culinary certificate when I was young, because I loved cooking. It was obviously in Italian cooking, uh, and it was also in French cuisine, so it was both.
Ah,
Um, I did that because I love cooking, and I thought my career would be to be a chef. And then I actually realized I didn't like to work in restaurants.
mm,
So basically, I stopped that working at least in restaurants, and I kept my chef business because I have the passion for it and I love cooking, and basically kept it as a private event work. So I do private events here and then when people like contact me, and
like
there's
catering.
right. And it's
Wow.
for small groups. I don't like to do big groups because
Hmm.
if you want fresh and you want good food, it doesn't too many people is not gonna be fresh, is not gonna be the way I want it to be. So I would say is usually a limit of the best, I would say a limit of 20 people, so small gatherings, but it's like private events. So it can be like a birthday, can be a private party, can be like it's usually and it's in people houses. So
Excellent.
uh, people contact me ahead of time, and once they contact me, they tell me what they were thinking and what their thoughts were on the menu, and then if they are like few like ideas, I can just put them on paper and come out with recipes and with like a menu for them with what I think will be suitable and what will be like something that they will love and appreciate. And then after that, we I come to their home, and obviously that's gonna be ahead of time and they start the preparation and everything. I do some preparation in my house before the event, just
Hmm.
because there are things that you need to do ahead of time. And they do basically for the most part Italian food. So I do handmade pasta and made pizza. I do like basically everything fresh and from
From
scratch.
scratch. Yes. Excellent. So I think it was on your blog because you also have a beautiful blog. You're an excellent writer as well. You just have so many talents between the two of you. So moving to the United States, obviously, one of the reasons why I like Italy, Europe is like just the quality of ingredients, the freshness. So was it a bit of a shock coming to the United States, seeing the amount of mass produced food? I think you mentioned on your blog like GMOs, preservatives, things like that. What was your feeling about that?
Yeah, it was very hard. It still is. It has been very hard for me to adapt to the food, and I still I spend so much money on food because I always look for like organic and best and
Me
fresh.
too.
It's
I was
like,
showing somebody on a call like a couple of weeks ago that and actually this was just a desperate buy because like I just needed olive oil. And I showed them, I sent them a picture of this olive oil that I spent $35 on.
yes, it
They
sounds
went
about right.
nuts because they were in Umbria, by the way. And they were like, why would you spend that kind of money? And it's just like, well, it's real. I mean, even in a supermarket, you have, anything close to decent is going to be, $15.
Oh yeah, oil is olive
Like
oil.
if you're getting an olive oil from Italy that's $9, it's not going to be good. But of course, coming from Umbria, they were in shock.
Right. Well, yeah, also the trick is you there are things you can save on. I mean, olive oil, uh I it's very expensive. It's like actually inconceivable how expensive it is, but I can save on it just because the way I use it, I don't need too much olive oil to cook with. I
Right.
there are
Oh,
techniques. When you're a chef, there are techniques that you can use and do. Uh,
okay.
I use my olive oil not much when I'm cooking. I use it at the end of it raw, because
Hmm.
when you cook olive oil, like it's not gonna be healthy anymore for the most.
Right.
So that's why I tend to don't use too much when I'm cooking. And there are techniques I know that I can use instead. So, but
Excellent.
yeah, it has been a shock. It's just different. There is nothing you can do about it. It's just a different. America is such a big country. I mean, things are different here. The food is different because the lifestyle and how big the country is and the way people live is different. So you cannot even compare that. But it's the same if you go to Italy, you go to a big city like Rome,
Yes.
and like all you can do is go to the market and you don't get the best stuff. You don't really get you get good food better than here, but like it's not gonna be great. Then you go to small towns and people have animals and
I believe it.
or
Yeah,
yeah.
literally farm to table. Yeah, that's excellent. So, just quickly, I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on Italian American food? I love your face. Tell us, please. Remember, we might have some Italians watching here.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anyone though. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I have a hard time with it because when I eat it, I always eat it with the idea of eating how Italian food should taste like. So I
Right.
I just can it's I just have a hard time with it. I rather go with other foods and other restaurant. I
Yes.
like traditional American restaurants. I
Mhm.
rather have a nice burger, which is great and it's good and it's well made, than have like I don't know, pasta alfredo, which is not Italian, or
Yeah.
chicken parmesan. I'm like, okay, I'm not saying they are not good. I'm just saying the idea I have to me is supposed to be Italian, is not. So it's like,
Yeah. That's
because
curious though. And it's one of the first interviews in the magazine because we're almost at 1 year in existence. Um, their slogan is there's no such thing as Italian food because what they emphasize is that every region is different and we try and focus on that too. So if you're getting a pesto in a certain region of Italy, it's not really pesto from there. Like I said, like if you're getting pesto in Sicily, it's just like
it tastes different. It tastes
yes,
different too.
it's not meant to be.
Pesto is from Genoa,
Yes,
like
exactly.
everyone has his own things. Everyone has his own, and it's great.
Exactly.
It's just
And
nice. Yeah,
And
that's
so finally, you and your wife also have merged your kind of artistic talents and you do have a design business. I saw there's some scarves. They're beautiful, beautiful silk scarves inspired by some of your travels. Is
yeah.
that
So
right?
yeah, right. I always love fashion since when, especially when I went to London. I think I just discovered that more. Living in a small town is different. Small town, you don't even think about it, but then going a big city, if you have something inside of you that then it just grows. Especially in London because you find so much fashion in there. Uh, so
Excellent.
I always wanted to do something with it, either like open my own store or even like have my own brand. And so that's what we did. And we started with pocket squares and scarves for now.
Mhm.
We are soon expanding to more accessories and then potentially to more clothing. But um, yeah, they are inspired by different parts of Italy. One of them, in fact, is my hometown, and they're not a specific design. They are like kind of conceived with what is around the area and what is in that town, and then it's put together. I mean, I would say those designs are so beautiful and great because my wife, she is like an amazing artist. So it was like a lot of it was her ideas in the designs. Um,
That's nice. That
so yeah,
really is.
sorry.
I said that really is. It's beautiful that you could merge your talents.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a passion. I'm glad that we go into it, and we are going definitely to keep doing that. And you never know, one day maybe like we'll take off, and will just be fun to go to fashion shows and around the world and such. Well, it will be nice to have. So it's good to keep your mind and your options open.
Of course, and to have like, that creative aspect too, even though you're at this point in your life very immersed in the business world. But Daniele, you are so talented, and I appreciate your openness and education and insight to all of that. So before we go, we'll make sure that the other links are mentioned, but tell us your website for your real estate consultancy business and any affiliated social media handles you want to mention.
Yeah. So my real estate business is AntonielleRealEstate.com.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's easy because my last name, no one has it. I can spell it if that helps. It's
Go ahead and spell it.
all right. Antoniella. That's how my name.
Yes, and it's Daniele. For any of you that are speaking, make sure that it's Daniel with an E and then Antoniella,
All right.
Antoniella with an A.com, right?
Yep.
And so we'll,
Not two L's. That's Danielle. Not two
oh,
L's. My first name.
yes, like Daniel in English with the E.
I
But
get. Sorry about that.
no, go ahead.
I get email. I get mail sent to my house with Mrs. Danielle, and because they think it's Danielle, and so they send me
Ah,
mail thinking that I'm a woman. So that's funny.
oh, well, we got to change that.
That's all right.
I have this personal. I want to, one of our future things. I don't know if it's going to actually be an thing. Is like one thing that I have this personal thing is like I really feel if you're going to get to know a country, you've got to know the original name rather than convert it to English. And one thing that really bothers me is whoever thought that Italy's regions had to have like why can't we say Puglia? Why do we have to say Apulia? you know, like who did that? Why can't we say Roma instead of Rome? To me, it's
Yeah.
like why do we have to change our names?
Yeah.
So
I don't get that. I mean, I get it. It's you need to make it easier sometimes on people.
I
Otherwise,
guess so. But
I
my
mean,
thought is people have to learn. Even if you say it incorrectly, at least make the effort to say it. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. We'll
yeah.
work on it. So anyway, I'm wrapping it up. My name is Lisa. I'm the editor of Live in Italy magazine. You can find us easily as well. www.liveinItalyMag.com and then at Live in Italy Mag. And Danielle is also on Instagram, so we'll make sure that you put in those links. Please check into his website. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Daniele, thank you once again for doing this for us.
Thank you for. I'm so happy to be here. It was great.
And definitely let us know once you become a realtor in Italy. We'll do a follow-up based on some of your experience in being on the ground, boots on the ground. Your experiences, we appreciate your openness in that, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, hope to talk to you again soon too.
So bye everyone. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.